Thank you.
Hello, world. This is your host, Gulmakai, the founder and creative director of the Golden Tree of Goodness. You're watching Listen to Understand with Gulmakai. Through this webcast, we want to promote goodness through understanding by empowering our audience to break the cycle of hate by creating an environment where there is understanding amongst all people through the universal message of the Golden Rule, which is to treat others as one wants to be treated. Today we have a very special guest who was with us last year, and she did a great talk, Rabab Elma, and she will speak about imposter syndrome and self-doubt. A talk on overcoming self-sabotage and feeling like a fraud. So if you know someone who is like that, or they could benefit from it, why don't you share this webcast with them so they could also join? So Rabab Elma has a master's in business administration and in clinical psychology. She's licensed in marriage and family therapy. Rabab is a screen-free parenting certified leader. She's heavily involved with the communities around her and through her own webcast that she does on her Facebook page. A fun fact about Rabab, she loves reading, exercising, and solitude. So welcome again, Rabab, and thank you everyone for joining in.
Thank you, Gulmakai. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So can you please tell us more? I just went on a brief introduction about you. Can you share some other interesting points about your life and yourself?
Thank you for this nice introduction, Gulmakai. I really appreciate it. It's actually a pleasure being here with you on the show.
You're welcome. The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you. So what else? So I have an office in Wayne, outside of Philadelphia, and I also have a location in the northeast of Philadelphia. I started it when the refugees started to come in in 2016, and it was difficult for them to come to the office in Wayne. So I used to see them then in Philadelphia, and I continue to have that location over there for the underprivileged, or for people who are in Philadelphia or cannot come to the suburb. I also have a daughter. She is a senior now, University of Pennsylvania. She's studying biomedical engineering. So it's
interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you also say you love solitude. How does that help?
Well, I think it's important to have alone time to reflect and to the nature of my work that I meet with people a lot, and of course it's an energy, so you always take on people energy, and you need to really be able to release that energy somehow and take care of yourself. It's a self-care, so it's important to be able to excuse me, it's important to be able to rejuvenate yourself, to be able to help people. Solitude helped me, being by myself, trying to have this alone time. I think it's important for everyone to have this alone time to reflect and think and enjoy your own company, because actually we are the one person that we will spend the rest of our life with.
Sure.
So if I don't enjoy, if I don't enjoy my own company, how would I expect someone else to enjoy my own company?
Sure. You're very right. Even that's something we don't do a lot today. We don't take the time to just sit alone and contemplate and reflect on things in our lives or things we learned, and that's how wisdom grows. Like I realize that, for us to increase our wisdom, we need to have that alone time and reflect on our lives.
Absolutely.
So today you want to speak about imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Can you explain more to us what imposter syndrome means?
I think this is a psychological phenomenon that all of us experience when we feel that we're inadequate or incompetent, or we feel that we're a failure, despite the evidence that we are successful. Like I see that with my clients at my practice, with professionals, men and women. And some of them are really successful. A lot of them actually are very successful in their careers. But this, some of them executives, CEOs, wherever their positions are, they still feel inadequate or incompetent, or they feel they are fraud and they will get caught or exposed at some point. And that creates a lot of anxiety for people and a lot of negative feelings, feeling that you are a fraud. When someone feels that they are fraud or inadequate, this will actually have them or render them feeling that they are unable to celebrate their achievements because they feel they're fraud. So they feel they live in the cycle of feeling fraud, inadequate, and also cannot really celebrate their achievements. So everyone is really fascinated with their record of, they have track record of success, but they're unable to celebrate that because they feel that they are fraud or inadequate. So I think
how does
go ahead.
Yeah. How does that happen? How does one become to that position when they feel that way?
Well, there are several ways that you can detect that if someone, or if you, or me, someone has that. Like you will feel that whatever happened, success I had, it was just by chance. Or yeah, I did do whatever, but I got help. People helped me. And that's why it's not only my effort. It's not just my success. And that's an issue because we all got help, you know, with throughout our life. But who's the common denominator here? Is you. You are the main player in your own life. So,
Sure.
excuse me. So that's feeling self-doubt. It has so many reasons. Some of them comes from childhood, from the way they were raised, from whatever events happen in their lives. So I think as a therapist, I will go deep and I will explore with the person and we'll have this conversation around where does this feeling come about? Where does it come from? Some people will say that I'm lucked out. It was just a luck. I'm successful because of my luck. You know, so it's not, they don't attribute that to their own efforts and their own hard work. Some people will think that, okay, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But they forget that there is always unique qualities for a particular person. Each one of us have unique qualities and have unique stories. Each one of us has a unique story that cannot be duplicated. So it's important to acknowledge that. Again, I talked about, I got a lot of help. We all got a lot of help. Like when we were growing up, our parents helped us, our teachers, our mentors, our coaches, if we have therapists, of course, yeah. So it's important to recognize that. Well, some people will say, I had connections. But even if you have connections, if you don't really produce something, you are not going to be successful. You're not going to be acknowledged. And excuse me. I mentioned also people don't recognize, they don't celebrate their small wins or their wins or their successes in their lives. And sometimes they just think, just people are being nice to me. But people are not going to lie to tell you that you are successful. You need to, produce evidence, and they have proof of your success, and you have a track record of achievements. And so there are a lot of reasons or maybe symptoms that people will, excuse me, or maybe some people will say, I just winged it. It just happened for me. But you cannot really wing something all your life. So I think it's important to, again, have this conversation with someone on where it is coming from and how to really rectify or to deal with that anxiety or that feeling.
Thank you. Those who are watching, welcome to our show. We have Rabab Elma, who's a psychologist, and she's talking about the imposter syndrome and self-doubt. So, Rabab, our next question is, what are the signs we should look for if we feel one of our, even us, either us or someone who we love, have self-doubt in them?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, these are the you will feel that people are always anxious, have anxiety. People always question what they are doing. They don't believe they are successful. They feel that they're fraud, or they are excuse me, this is not their success, or someone else did it for them, or so you see the signs. And some people have it as bad as panic attacks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that serious?
Well, it
Yeah.
depends on the stressors in their lives and what's going on. But some people, yeah, will come to therapy after they have episodes of panic attacks, and then we try to break it down to see what's going on. And sometimes, most of the time, I see this one of the reasons why they are having panic attacks.
Yeah.
Of course, there are other reasons. There are other reasons. Of course, it's not the only one, but this is one of the reasons for some people. And because it's the topic for today, so I will actually highlight that.
Could it be from wanting to be perfect? Is that could that be one of the reasons?
Yeah, maybe, of course. Sometimes people think that failure is not an option. Well, actually, failure, we need to celebrate failure, even though sometimes it's difficult. But if we look at failure as an opportunity, as a lesson, so whatever we were doing, now I learned that this does not work, so I will not do it again. But we need to keep reminding ourselves that this is a lesson, and that action or that path failed. It doesn't mean that you are, as a person, is a failure. And we need to recognize that unless we try and fail, we will not know what works.
True.
Again, because each person's story is different. And I think this goes back for us women. If we want to talk about women, the way we were raised. We were raised to be, we need to be perfect. We cannot really express our feelings or our opinion. We need to obey. We need to listen to the elderly. We need to respect them. And of course, we need to respect the elderly and be respectful in their presence, but does not mean that I can disagree with you respectfully. You know what I mean? But a lot of people were not raised that way. Disagreeing and saying voicing your opinion is very important. And a lot of people were not raised that way, especially for girls. They were raised to be good girls, and that can contribute to this feeling of feeling a failure, to doubting the self, that I don't deserve it, or I'm a fraud or inadequate, whatever it is. That sometimes stems from whatever happens in the person's life and the way they were brought up.
Wow, that's such great information. I see it when I used to teach. I used to see in some children, and then when I would meet the parent, I understood where they got that from. The parent would not accept an A-.
Yes,
that's how serious they were.
There is no
with my. Yeah, I'm like if I see them working hard, they're studying, they're doing their homework, and if it's not an A, I'm all good. I don't want that stress on my kids.
Yeah,
that's when the self-doubt starts coming in. Will my mom be happy with me? I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
all these.
Yeah, when you get the 9 out of 10, why didn't you get a 10? You know what I mean? Or what happened to the other grades? Or all of this, that there's subtle messages, or sometimes not subtle, very clear messages that we don't expect or accept below perfect.
True.
And then the child grows up and they feel that he had or she has to be perfect, otherwise they will not be accepted. And that would put a tremendous amount of pressure.
Yeah, it's true.
So when they become like this CEO or VP for a certain company, and all the projects went well, except that one project that did not really give the result that he or she was expecting, then this is a failure. That means I am a failure, labeling the self.
Yeah. we shouldn't be mean to ourselves, right? We shouldn't be mean to others nor to ourselves.
Well,
We have to
yeah,
show.
actually, yeah, we sometimes we exert a lot of compassion towards other, but not towards ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We care about others, but we forget
Yeah.
ourselves. It's having that balance, caring about others, and at the same time,
Yeah,
self,
absolutely.
self-care, self-love, self-respect.
Yeah.
Can you also share with us a story about how you helped yourself or someone else who had self-doubt?
Well, I will talk about my story. So I was raised in Saudi Arabia. I was born in Syria, but raised in Saudi Arabia. And I was raised in a country where women are, girls in general, like don't have a lot of rights, and they are not really have a lot of freedom to do anything in comparison to boys. So I always grew up with this environment that a man should be with me to do anything, or otherwise I can't do it on my own. So when I came to the United States, and then I am living here by myself with my daughter, and then I realized that there's a lot of things that I was in the beginning unable to do on my own, or I'm afraid to do because I'm inadequate, because it was instilled inside of us that the girls are not supposed to do anything on their own, or they are not supposed to really pursue anything without someone else's approval. So I had to work on my own self um, quite some time, for a long time, to be able to overcome this and to study on my own, to work, to have my own practice, to take a decision to leave pharmaceutical industry and stick to therapy and psychology, because I used to do both. I used to do pharmaceutical industry. I was for the longest time, and therapy. So to be able to take that move and to decide for myself without someone else's, that took a long time of work and therapy for my own self. And that actually what led me to psychology, because I wanted to um, be able to do what I want to do on my own. I wanted to be a better parent for my daughter. And that what led me to psychology. I didn't think that it would be my profession. I studied it just because I want to be a better parent and a better person and know how to navigate the world on my own. But then I fell in love with psychology, and I realized this is what I wanted to do.
Wow, amazing story, and I'm very proud of you. You've come a long way, and I say I've been seeing Rabab work, and her work is amazing, and she's helping everyone as much as she can. She's involved in many communities, helping them, bringing the best out of them, giving a positive mindset, and telling them you could bring a change to yourself. So she is truly an amazing person.
Thank you.
Now tell us, of course, yes, connect with my golden rule. How does the golden rule goes against having having the imposter syndrome or self-doubt?
So let's first define what is a golden rule. What is the golden rule? So the golden rule is to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. So if we want someone to deal with us the way we want them to deal with them, so how do we position ourselves in this map? So if you go back, even in our religion, when the prophet says you love to your brother what you love to yourself. So I always start with one thing. We need to define, it's always in our community, we actually focus on the first sentence of this hadith. Excuse me. To love for our brother or sister what we love ourselves. But do we take the time to define what do we really like for ourselves in order to know what we're gonna love for others? If you take that, if you take that, this is a golden rule in our religion.
Yeah.
And this applies to other religions, also Christianity or Judaism or other religions. So when we want to love for others like we love for ourselves, define first what you want for yourself. Take your time and define it.
Sure.
So once we define that for ourselves, then I'm able to define what I would like from my sister or brother.
Sure. What a great point.
And then so you want your brother or your sister to treat you with compassion. You want them to treat you with kindness, with love, with collaboration, with empathy. Okay, this is what you want from your brother or sister. That means this is what you like for yourself. So first, we need to do it for ourselves, because if you read in all the scriptures and the Quran, and they will say that do it to anfusakum, first yourself and then others. In every single, if you read in the Quran, and I'm sure if you read in the Bible or in the Torah or all the other books, it always advises people that you need to take care of yourself first and then others. أنفسكم وأهليكم, yourself and their families. So this is across the board. But in our culture, we always it's a collective orientation, if you will. So we think of the society, of the community, before thinking of ourselves, or from an individualistic perspective. And some people will look at it as you're being selfish. But there is a difference between being selfish and self-centered. I will be selfish when I need to take care of myself, and I will tell people no, because I need to protect my boundaries, and I need to protect to keep my sanity, and I need to take care of myself. This is different than self-centeredness, when I don't care about others. So being selfish sometimes and say no, or change schedules, or be very strict about your boundaries because you are actually caring for yourself, that's important. Actually, this is encouraged because you want to save yourself from being burned out.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's a balance, and it's actually encouraged. It's always about the balance. And our responsibility first is towards our Creator, second towards ourselves. It's always for yourself, because we will be judged alone. We will be asked alone. It's always about, so it's always this, first of all, your relationship with your Creator, and then your relationship with yourself, and then with the others. Because once you fix the relationship with yourself, then we're able to fix or work on the relationship with others.
Sure.
But it always starts with the self.
Yeah. You have to have that.
So that ties it to the golden rule.
Yeah, that was a very great point you made there. We have to first work on ourselves in order to apply the golden rule. We need to know what we want, for people to know us and understand us. That's when the golden rule will come into action.
Yes.
Yeah, it's also, when you improve yourself, you work on yourself, you're also helping humanity, because you're going to be bringing less problems into the school you go to or into the job you work at, because you're better improving self-improvement. You're having a better self-improvement of yourself. And when you come into the workforce or wherever you may be around people, you're a better person. You're not that negative person, closed-minded person that always have self-doubt, because now you decide to improve yourself.
Yes,
which is great. Giving us great tips and ways and understanding on this self-doubt and imposter syndrome. So how critical do you believe it is to have this knowledge and apply it during our times? Especially, with social media, everything is, there's hardly any privacy now. How is it important?
First, when you say it's hardly any privacy, I have to disagree with that, because I think we control what we put on our social media. And because we control what we put on our social media, so you see people put all the nice, lovely stories about someone's life. And sometimes that can be deceiving in terms of, oh, okay, everyone is happy except for me. But this is not the truth, because we all go through ups and downs. And people choose to put happy stories and happy pictures on Facebook, or choose not to put anything. this is totally the person's choice. I think it's important to keep ourselves in check in terms of what we allow to really penetrate our system and what we actually block out.
Sure.
So it's our choice always to have the control and to be to be in control in our emotional reactivity or our emotions, how we choose to react or think of something we saw or we met or we encountered. And I think there are several ways to deal with all of these feelings. We need when we share it with someone, or a therapist, or a clinician, or someone with a confidant, or someone that they will tell us the truth as it is. It is important. It's important to. Am I still on?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't see you.
You don't?
I don't see you. That's fine. But can you see me and hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, that's good. So I think it's important for us to recognize that
Are you there?
yeah, I'm here.
You're there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay. So
the question was, what's important for parents and teachers to teach children on how to not have self-doubt or encourage them to be positive? So why is it important? If you've already mentioned the reasons, there's another question. What are some of the lasting effects on a child who does have self-doubt? So if you could answer those two questions.
So when a child has self-doubt, or they don't have self-esteem, or they don't trust themselves, this will manifest itself in so many ways. I'm just going to mention some of them. Sometimes the child will avoid to be challenged or even trying to take a challenge. Sometimes the child will be try to quit a task. The first time he starts, the minute he starts to do a task, he will just quit. He doesn't want to do it. And he will be frustrated sometimes, or he or she. Sometimes the children will lie, cheat, do stuff that you don't imagine, you can't imagine they do. Like some parents will tell me, like, for instance, this child does something that some tricks or some lies or some stories that they will never, they can't imagine their children will do such a thing. Or sometimes you see the signs of regression or baby-like behaviors. Sometimes they will act like controlling and bossy, and they will bully other children. Some of them will make excuses. For instance, I can't do it. The teacher doesn't like me. The kids are, they are really don't want me in the class. Whatever stuff that they make up to excuse their behaviors. The grades sometimes will decline. And sometimes the children will withdraw emotionally and socially. And you will see the changes of mood. Sometimes they are happy, sometimes crying, sometimes they are angry, and there are no apparent reason for that. And sometimes they are critical of themselves. They will say, I hate myself. I hate my life. No one likes me. I'm not beautiful. I'm ugly. I'm fat. I'm thin. I'm thick. I'm whatever it is. They will belittle themselves. It's my fault. You will see them sometimes rushing to say sorry for something they didn't do. Sometimes they will be overly concerned about what people think of them, and that will undermine a lot of things they do or they believe in, because they want that acceptance. And sometimes they will be like affected by the negative comments from other people, other peers. So and you see them at home. Sometimes they are just in their room. They don't want to interact with anyone, and they're always mad and on edge, and they don't want to interact. So there are some of the symptoms that can be as a result of self-doubt or something else. But this is some of the symptoms, or how self-doubt and bullying and all of this negativity in a child's life, could manifest itself in their lives. And I think the second question said, how we deal with it? Was this the second question?
What are the lasting effects on a child who does have self-doubt?
Okay, these are, I just mentioned the effects on the child. And it's important not to, I think that first question, why it's important. It's important to talk to children about self-esteem and how, and actually walk them through activities and talk with them about how self-esteem looks like and behaviors. What can they do to help themselves to have more self-confidence, for instance. It's important also for us to look at ourselves as parents and how we treat them. So if we are always praising the child for anything without even delivering results, then we are contributing to the issue. If we are comparing children to other children or to their siblings, we are contributing to the issue. If we are reminding them that you are not good enough, if when we are mad, we tell the child you're stupid, you are not gonna amount to anything, then we are contributing to the issue. If there are issues in the home, at home, and you see that the parents are always maybe talking negatively to each other, then the child will internalize that. So it's a lot of things that we need to look at and see why the child is behaving this way. And this will impact them, their achievement at school, their interaction with other people, and this will affect them when they grow up in their careers, in their relationship with their significant others, with their children. So there are some lasting effects on what we do and how the child is being raised and what is their image of themselves, their belief system.
Wow. It has a great impact on them. That all these problems happen in school is because one of the reasons could be of this reason that they have self-doubt.
So it might be the school, it might be the bullying, but also we want to look at the school, at home, actually. Because as you mentioned earlier, you said sometimes when the child exhibits some symptoms and when you go and talk to the parent, then you understand. That tells so there is some kind of correlation between what's happening at home and what's the child is actually exhibiting and experiencing at school.
True, you're very right on that. So those who are watching, we had to cut our first part and we are restarting again. We'll call this the second part on imposter syndrome and self-doubt. We have Rabab Elmo who's speaking about this topic. She's a psychologist and she's helping us to understand and overcome self-doubt. So we have a few more questions, but it'll be open to the audience. If you have questions, you could put it on the comment bar right now, and then we'll answer them. So what final advice do you have for the audience, Rabab?
So before I talk about my final, I just want to correct something. So I'm not a psychologist. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and there are differences. So I just wanted to,
really?
Yeah, I just wanted to point this out. So final thoughts. I think parenting and self-doubt, imposter syndrome, our children, self-confidence. I think we need to take a deep look at ourselves as adults and see what is it that we are manifesting in our lives. I think it starts with ourselves, with us, with our thoughts, feelings, what goes on in our life. And if we are exhibiting this imposter syndrome, I think we need to talk about it. If we keep all of these thoughts and feelings in our mind and inside of us, then it will keep lingering. I think it's important to share that with someone, whether a professional, a therapist, a coach, whatever it is. I think if it's more clinical indications, then you want to go to a therapist. So if you have panic attacks or these kind of symptoms, you need to talk about it. Get it out of your system. You need to stop and pause and look at what's going on in your life. Have a record of your achievement. Put it in the mirror and look at it. See how did you pass by, or have you overcome this obstacle, how you become a therapist, how you became a dentist, a director, a student, whatever it is, a parent. an author, a painter, whatever it is we're doing, put it down.
Yeah.
Put all this achievement and remind yourself that this is your achievement. I think it's important to keep a positive track of what we have done, achieved so far, to help ourselves actually balance that feeling. But if we are unable to, we need to seek professional help.
True. Yes. Great advice. Thank you, Rabab.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So before she leaves, Rabab will tell us any other plans she has for herself, and she will also tell us where we could reach her. And of course, then it's open to question time. So if you have any questions, please post them on the comment bar and Rabab will answer.
So future plans, I'm interested in teaching. So I'll be teaching some courses, maybe at some universities around the area. So in the next year, so I'm interested in that.
Wow.
Yeah, and
I wish you success.
Thank you, and some workshops. How you can reach me? Well, I mean, you can go to my website, rababalma.com. You can reach me on Facebook, of course. On my website, you will see the phone number, the email, whatever you need to reach me, and I will be happy to connect with you.
And we're going to also put it on the comment bar.
Yeah, I will include that after we finish.
Yeah,
I will put that. On. Yes.
I'm going to go to the first one because the first video to see all the comments.
Oh yeah, we have 2 videos.
So, yeah. So I see a lot of good comments and agreeing to the points you've made. Okay. Skywalker said, listening to you is like listening to myself. Love your energy and clarity. Trevor Steve. Okay, I won't read that. Dana, she said, failure, or better word, mistakes are lessons.
True.
So it's mostly comments I see. Lydia had to say it is, if it comes from childhood, it's hard to blame the parents because that feels wrong. So I got stuck.
Oh, so we don't want to blame the parent. Actually, our parents did their best to the best of their abilities. It's not about blaming anyone. It's about understanding what this belief system is coming from and then dealing with it and come to terms with it. So if we're going to blame someone else, then we are actually relinquishing the responsibility of ourselves. We need to take accountability and responsibility of our own actions and feelings and not actually blaming someone else.
True. She also says, how about when someone hurts us terribly and we don't get any support or love? That causes terrible feelings.
Yeah, that happens. And I think in this case, people need to go to therapy and they need to really come to terms with whatever happens in their lives or happened in their lives. I think by talking about it, processing, and working on it with a professional, then people will come to terms with it. And they will come to a point where they will move on. I myself went through this. And it takes time and energy. It takes dedication and hard work. But I think our lives and our future, our potential, we deserve that. We deserve that work. Because when we are an adult, then we are responsible for our own feelings. We cannot blame anyone anymore. Even if we were wrong when we were younger, we can't. We need to take responsibility of our own feelings and thoughts, and we need that safe place to be able to express the self and go deeper, to uncover whatever happened to us and with us. So we can move forward. And people did it, and we're able to move forward. I myself, one of these people.
Wow, yeah, you had a great story that you shared with us. So if you want to hear that story, you're tuning in, watch the first part, and you'll hear her story, how she came from a place where, you know, women were not really considered much and they weren't giving much support. And now if you look at her work, she's doing amazing work. She's helping many communities, many people to be their best. And her knowledge is phenomenal. So I guess there's no other questions, but I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you for being patient with us as we were dealing with the technical issues. But this webcast is on my pages, on Rabab's pages. I'm going to edit it, and you have a better version. But in the meantime, if you can't wait, you could watch these versions of our webcast. So the first part is the one that happened about half an hour ago. You can see it on my page, and I also shared it on all of my groups and pages. You could watch it there. Please do share with others, because a lot of people could get benefit from that. So I really, really wanted to thank all the audience, and of course, Rabab Elma. Thank you for giving us another great talk. She had done one before, which she did an amazing talk. And the funny thing is, you also had a code at that time. I don't know if you remember.
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
You also had a code during that talk too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah. I remember you had a code, and then now you have a code. So, but still, you're trying your best. We appreciate it that even though you're not feeling the best, you're giving your best, and we appreciate that.